What's up, YouTube? I'm in the shop today working on my 8th gen SI, and I'm making this video to try to help everyone out and save them some time because I didn't find anything just wrapping up every single location, listing them out of all the oil leaks that are possible on this K20 C3. And I wasted a shitload of time just going in over and over and pulling the same sensor out twice sometimes. So I'm just going to run through everything and give you guys some tips on how to get this all done. My engine was leaking really bad from the back of the block, somewhere back there. It was dripping onto the belt in some places and just getting flung all over. There was so much crap and grime on the engine, I couldn't tell where it was coming from. So for the first thing I did, I just bought a few cans of brake clean, just sprayed the crap out of it, used some brushes and some simple green, just cleaned it up really well so I could get in there with this. And this is just a cheap inspection mirror. This is going to save you a lot of time and headache. So get this, get a good flashlight, and just stick it back there when your cowl's off, and you'll be able to get a close-up of each sensor, looking for oil, looking for wetness and all that stuff. So all the gaskets that I ended up ordering were super cheap. They were all like $7 to $10 from the dealer. So my advice is, if you're doing this, just do them all, because it takes an extra 15 minutes once you're in there to replace the gasket, and they're all going to leak sooner or later. These are all common leaks. So with that said, let's break this down and let's just go one by one through every single gasket or oil leak location. All right, the first and most obvious one is going to be your valve cover gasket. So you want to go around with a mirror, go around the whole perimeter and check it's not leaking anywhere. I redid mine and I just used a Felpro gasket. It seems to be working great. You're going to need the gasket, and then you're going to need some Honda Bond. Honda Bond goes in sort of the corners, which you'll see when you pop the valve cover off. And the kit I got actually contains all the spark plug, the rubber seals, so I did those all too. It was pretty cheap. It was like $20, $30. Let's go to the front. So that guy there can leak. I think that's called the VTC strainer. It's one of those funny looking gaskets with a metal screen. I think this tensioner has to come off before you can access that, which is total bitch. Mine's actually not leaking there, so I'll save that for a rainy day. So on the side of the block, we've got the VTC oil control solenoid. I think that's what it's called. Man, there's so many different names for all this shit. So you can see it right there. That's the blue connector, and that pulls with two 10mm bolts. That's an O-ring style, but you should get that from the dealer because it's pretty tight tolerance. To get at that, you're gonna have to pull that ground lug, move that cable out of the way, and then this engine torque rod has got to come out, and you'll want to clean the screen on that guy before you put it back in. All right, let's come around to the back of the block here. And here we're looking at the VTech spool valve. This guy gets pulled with three 10mm bolts that are on the back of this bracket here. You'll have to pull these cable wiring loom out of the way first. And the trick here is I used a stubby impact with deep socket. Those bolts are kind of hard to get to, so you really want to be careful not to strip one of them, otherwise you're really fucked. Once you get this piece off, there's the odd shaped screen and gasket that goes against the block. And then this connector right here, you pull that sensor out. I think that's a pressure switch or something, but there's an O-ring at the base of that can also leak. The Honda dealer wouldn't sell me an O-ring for that, and they kept saying it was non-user serviceable. I don't know what the hell they were playing at, but that one you want to get at when it's out too. What I did for that guy is I actually have this kit from Amazon that's pretty decent kit. just assorted O-ring sizes. It was cheap. It was like under $20. This has been super handy for working on not only this Civic, but like any vehicle. I use a bunch of this stuff. Just pull a common O-ring size and put a little dab of waterproof grease and then mount that up. Okay, so underneath your VTC solenoid, the next one is the oil pressure switch, which is really hard to see, but you can see it right there. That's the rubber boot. You roll that back, and then the switch, I think it's a 22 or a 23. It might depend if yours has been replaced by an aftermarket. It might be even a different size. That just unscrews from the block, and that can leak from two spots. The first spot is the threads. So the threads have got to be cleaned and sealed with Honda Bond, or you can use Teflon plumber's tape. The second spot it can leak from is the actual sensor itself. There's a plastic and a metal piece to it, and then the internals can leak. That's where the bulk of my oil leak was coming from, and it was coming out of the rubber boot and just dripping and getting flung everywhere. Next down, you have your oil filter. So if you're doing your oil changes correctly, you should be pulling the old, double checking to make sure the old O-ring has come out of it before you mount a new one, because if you have two squished together, that can leak. And then the base of the oil filter actually has an oil cooler. So the oil cooler is like a metal donut shaped cooler that gets sandwiched against the block. You have to get at that from the side, from the wheel well, and you undo your oil filter. You unscrew the oil filter mount, which is just like a threaded nipple. I think that's another 24 or 23 mil. And then the donut cooler pulls away from the block, and there's an O-ring at the base of that, so that can leak. What else do we have here? If you're coming in from the side, there's a crank, I think it's a crank position sensor or something like that you'll see. It's pretty obvious. I don't know if I can get, yeah, I don't have my wheel off. You probably won't be able to see it, but that's really easy to access from the side. It's a blue connector. It's staring you straight at the face. Once you pull your wheel off, I used another O-ring from my O-ring kit for that guy. Oh, what else have you got back here? You've got your timing inspection plate, which is on the side of your block. You might have to get under the car or to the side for that guy. That's sealed with Honda Bond. Shouldn't really leak unless it's been opened and not sealed again properly. Then you've got your timing cover plate. Hope to God that's not leaking for you, because that's all Honda Bond. If it's never come off, it really shouldn't leak. And then you've got your oil pan gasket surface, which is Honda Bond again. That really shouldn't leak. You've got really big issues resealing an oil pan if you do. And then underneath, you can check your, what else is there? There's the block halves, I guess, with the Honda Bond, which shouldn't really leak. There's the main crank pulley, main shaft seal or something. That's a hard one to get to. You'll have to come in from the wheel well and pull your crank pulley off, and that's behind the crank pulley. I think that's it. I think that's all of them. That's all the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So hopefully that helps. Just list them all out and you can go check them one by one. If this was helpful, please drop a comment if I missed something or I named something wrong. I didn't drop any part numbers here because honestly, it's just easier to ring up the parts desk at Honda and just say, hey, VTC, spool valve, whatever, just get me that gasket. Just order them all and do them all. Yeah, if I missed anything, drop a comment below. Hopefully this saves you a lot of time having to dig through the videos one by one and Google images and all that shit. So good luck.